Duffy. Well, hello there. Good morning. This is a very late morning for me, and I decided I'd sit here and talk with you for a little bit about something that had entered my mind earlier today. I was reading an article in a Pakistani newspaper, Dawn, which was very interesting, about the ongoing progress of the war in South Waziristan, which is, for all practical purposes, an American-sponsored war, although I think there's a lot of nationalism involved in it on the part of the Pakistanis, because they don't want the United States to make them into a client state, and they do not wish to be crushed by India, and they would like to have their back door secured through Afghanistan. So they're going to do whatever they have to secure their country. Not to mention the fact that they don't want hundreds of their people killed and maimed, and the slaughter to continue forever. So they would like to straighten this out in the best possible way without having to accept too many bribes from the United States and commit themselves to a course of action which will eventually lead to their demise. Now, they have seen this happen in other countries. We have seen this happen in other countries such as Vietnam, Cambodia, places like that. And for that matter, Saddam Hussein, when we backed him up, he was our buddy during the 1980s in the first Gulf War with Iran, the 8-year war. And eventually we got tired of him and decided to offload that guy. Eventually executed him for crimes that were not the worst crimes that he had committed. He had killed hundreds of thousands of people, not his own people necessarily, because he is a Sunni Muslim, and the people that he killed were Shias and Kurds. But Iraq is a made-up country anyway, just like Pakistan. Lines were drawn pretty much in a sense that, yes, you would have a certain amount of sovereignty, but also it would be limited access to the outside world, easily cut off by the neighboring, more powerful countries, or countries with more resources and the ability to practice what the U.S. Air Force calls today full-spectrum domination. So, there's a lot more to it than meets the eye. As far as the war on terror is concerned, we are suffering our own casualties, even though we don't like to. It makes us angry. Muslims are now afraid of a backlash from the Judeo-Christian-based society here in the United States because of the actions of Major Hassan out in Fort Hood, who apparently was going to be deployed to Afghanistan. I don't know if his action was directly related to that or not, because it's often repeated. It kind of makes you think that maybe that's the case. He didn't want to go to Afghanistan because he's Muslim and therefore he'd be killing his Muslim brothers or something like that. But that might not be the case at all. Nobody really knows. Not all the evidence is out there. So we should wait for the evidence before we draw any conclusions and not listen to the talking heads or the analysis, which is at best based on allegations which may or may not be true at all to any degree or percentage. I am of the opinion that when dealing with these kinds of things, absorb as much evidence as possible, analyze it very carefully, and realize that new evidence may be out there that we're not aware of, which could change the whole picture. Take a look at the Civil War reconstruction, World War II, and the aftermath, and the new evidence and information coming out about how these wars were carried out, how they came about, and what the effects were that changed the whole picture of that. They aren't even taught in schools. They aren't going to be reported in school books or by your political leaders or anyone else for that matter. But you have to go find it out yourself, and you begin to realize after a while that there is much more to the world than meets the eye. Things are not what they seem to be. So having said all that, it comes to mind a statement made by a lieutenant general of the Marine Corps, former commandant, who was awarded a recipient of the Medal of Honor during the Vietnam War for actions during the Vietnam War, who said one time in an off-the-record talk with us at a seminar that I attended, that I had the pleasure of attending in Louisiana. And basically what he said was that if you are wearing the uniform of the United States, whether you were in the Marine Corps, Air Force, Army, in the Reserves, National Guard, in the Coast Guard, whatever that service may be, that means you have bought into the idea that your basic mission is to kill people and break things when the Commander-in-Chief tells you to do it, and to keep doing it until there's nothing left to kill or break, or until the Commander-in-Chief tells you to stop it. So, with that said, it dawned on me that here was a man who had been in supreme authority at one point, at least compared to me as a non-commissioned officer. I have very little authority. And he was saying that to us in the dark of the night. And in that room were very liberal women, feminists, who were commissioned officers in the United States Air Force, members of SAC, TAC, all those types of organizations. And men as well, psychiatrists, doctors, lawyers, all different branches, security, police, all of them nodding in unison to this statement. So we are pretty bloody people, I guarantee you. Don't think that we're not. Don't fool yourself into thinking that we are not bloodthirsty, because we are. Now, many of the operations we carry out are humanitarian in their very nature. For instance, when we help out people after an earthquake or a monsoon or something like that, we do good work. Our military forces do throw in. We have the ability to distribute electrical power where it is needed from an aircraft carrier or some other ship. But you have to remember also that all of these lessons are internalized by the U.S. military and the planning departments of the various services for use in war making later on, because our primary mission as an organized fighting force in the U.S. military is to carry out the war order, should the Commander-in-Chief order us to do it.